Okay, guys, in here, got all those parts in the primer. Those are ready to get installed on the car. We got the bumper there, which is in primer just so we can tear it apart and do a little more work to it. Just had to get it into primer because it was bare steel. Got all the brackets sitting here in primer. Got to get those installed on the car. Come back out to the messy shop and got the rack and pinion sitting on there. Lots of issues with that. Got to figure out how to make that better. Bumper sitting there ready to go on. Rear end sitting in there ready to be bolted on. Guys, one thing nice, you can see right there, didn't like the weld I seen, ground it back out and did it again. That's one thing nice, is it's just primer. You can go back and fix anything you don't like yet. Kind of run you through and show you that we're not just working on one thing. Over here, picked up a transmission jack, rebuilding that. Guys, you don't have to have new if you don't mind putting a little time into something. We will have that straightened out shortly. Got the transmission sitting over there, started cleaning on it. That's got to go in the 57, so we got to get moving on that. So, as you can see, we have lots of things going on in the shop. And by the way, the guys that are following the rebuild of the parts washer, it's over there. It's getting worked on. I try to do a little bit of everything, and there's just not enough time. But let's get this frame back together because we need to get that back under the car. Okay, guys, figured I would give you a run through when you get in too big a hurry and take your clamps off before it cools off enough that it will pull in, and then you end up making yourself more work. This is what I came up with to correct that. Works pretty good on the other side, so I figured I'd run you through. Nothing that difficult, just added some work to something that wouldn't have had to happen if I would have slowed down a little more. Sometimes with these projects, you feel like you're just not getting anywhere and you start speeding up and you end up paying for it. Okay, guys, I still got the shim I used to weld it up, and it is wide enough right there. Now remember, it's going to back itself off, so you're going to have to do it a couple times until you get it where you won't need it. Okay. The longer you do this, the more you try not to get yourself into this, because you can waste a lot of time fixing your mistakes. But you got to overcome them. You can't stop. The other day I had to walk away from it on the fuel cell. It was Sometimes I overthink things, and it's easier if I just walk away and come back, and then you look at it and you're like, okay, you just made more out of something simple. Spacer fits, the part should fit, right? Well, so we're going to tell ourselves. Simple fix with just a bolt, washer, and nut, and a flat plate. And it should work now. And if not, we'll do it again. Sometimes you just don't have enough hands to do everything. How? Okay. Guys are wondering what's going on. I have these bars marked where we had them for setup. Trying to put everything back the way that I had it for setup. That way we don't have to start all over completely with adjustments. And trying not to scratch everything all up doing so. I could be patient and wait for help, but that's just not gonna happen. Okay. One thing nice about the 4-bar, you guys get anything a little out of alignment, you got full adjustability. Telling you, the first time I built one of these, I built everything to 1/16 of an inch. Called the people up that I got the 4-bar from and asked them how far off things could be and still be corrected with alignment. And they said, oh, over an inch. And I thought, what the heck? I would never want to build something that was an inch off, but it's good to know how close you need to be. It just amazes me how this stuff moved around as much as it did. You guys seen I had those spacers in there, and after it sat there and totally cooled, it's even that part moved. But all you can do now is just fix what you did. I should have put a little more space in there, obviously, because what I did not have enough space once it cooled off. We will correct that. It's amazing all this was together. You put it. I watched some other shows and I laughed because you'd watch them putting it together and all of a sudden nothing fits, but yet they took it apart and everything fit. Well, that's where we're sitting. That's why you want to do this. The last thing you guys want to do is paint it. Already been asked why I didn't throw it right into paint and wouldn't have to do this again. Now you guys see why you don't just throw it into paint. Everything would be all scratched up by the time you were done. Okay. It is nice to have a spacer. You can quickly check it and see if you got it where you want it. Okay guys, this will center up that rear end. I just threw it in there, so obviously it's not even close to centered. And you guys can see how I redid that panhard bar. Same angle as the other. And we believe that once you put the weight on the car, it should take everything down to being close to level. And remember, you got coilover, so everything's adjustable. One thing I can also tell you is the more times you put it together and take it apart, the quicker it goes. That bar in, and I don't want it. That direction. Around. One mistake I made in the past is setting the rear end up as if it was a leaf spring rear end. Couldn't figure out your pinion angle changes under a load and couldn't figure out why I had a vibration. Finally realized I set it up for a leaf spring rear end, switched it to what it should be for a pinion angle driving down the road, and smoothed right out. And you gotta like simple, but definitely overlooked that one. This is the second rear end components I bought from this company, and been very impressed with everything there. So it's nice when things bolt together the way you want it to. Still got to think outside the box, kind of like the panhard bar that I did switch up from the way it came in. Believe this is going to work for my setup and ride height. If it don't, guess what, guys? I got more grinding wheels. We'll switch it up again. No reason this won't work, though. We don't see any of that happening. Remember, it's adjustable, so we should be just fine. I was watching another channel the other day, and the guy put out there that he is not telling you how to do this. He's just showing you what he did. So I kind of 100% agree with him. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just showing you what I did. And if it doesn't work for you and what you're doing, then I guess we both accomplished what we wanted to, and that is we showed you what you don't want, and now you just gotta do it the way you want to. Not real sure how I accomplished this, but 2 of the bolts are missing. How did you accomplish that one? That's kind of amazing. Okay. Oh. Okay, guys, I remember how I got 2 bolts missing. Here's another don't do. When I welded on the bolts, or the brackets, I should say, for the coilovers, I put it all together, welded it up, and had it towards the frame. The bolts would not come out because it was running into the frame. Simple solution, cut them off. But now I'm missing bolts. That's how that all come about. So we will not be able to finish putting this back on its wheels until we come up with 2 new bolts. Not a big deal. Just got to do a hardware run. That's what we spend most of our time doing in this shop, running after bolts. Okay. Okay, guys, the rear end is back in there. Just got to grab a couple new bolts for that, and we will have this thing back sitting on its own wheels. That will be great. Okay, guys, now let's get this fuel cell back in. Sorry about that. we need to get this fuel cell back in, and we'll move you up. Trying to give you guys a little bit more bird's eye view, and we know our videos aren't very great yet. Working towards that. So let's go after this fuel cell. Guys, it is nice when you can start putting together a car to this point and you can see what all your time has been about. Sometimes you get going on these and you're just wondering, man, am I ever going to get anywhere with it? I do like fabrication. I do like the part of going through and doing this. But day after day, if you don't start seeing this part, you start wondering if you're going to get there. These little wood shims are just temporary until I get the rubber that I'm going to put in between the fuel cell and that bracket, for those that were wondering. You just hope when you get to this point that everything still fits. I like to put a washer on there, but that side is that'll work. Should have taped off the threads. Kind of was worried about that. Got a little excess paint on the threads and now it doesn't like that. Not a big deal. We can always clean them up later and Now the thing that's nice about the way that this ended up is if it's in the car and you have to pull your fuel cell, you literally pull 4 bolts out and the fuel cell will drop out from underneath. So that is what we were going after. Let's get this bumper back on. Now, the only trick we have here, these bolts are all going to have a plate welded onto them to install them down the road, but that is not done yet, so we will just put them in place to start out with. Once that plate is on there, down the road when you guys go to mess with the bumper, you won't have to fight these as much as I'm going to fight it right now. I would already make the plate up, but I don't have the metal I would like to use for it, so we are just going to make this work. This is when you can see all this stuff took about 2-3 weeks of after work playing around, and there's days you come home and wonder why you doing it. This shows you exactly why you're doing it. If you enjoy seeing your accomplishments, this is one of the days I'm seeing my accomplishments. Because for what I was going after, this is definitely it. Watch some guys that say, just go buy one, it's done. You can go out and enjoy it. Well, can't say they ain't right. But I can definitely tell you the accomplishment to me would definitely not be there. And remember, that good deal you got, more than likely you're going to start tearing it apart and find out 90% of what you're seeing me do, you're going to end up doing anyway. You just paid a lot more money for it. When you're laying underneath the car trying to get these bolts out that are all rusted up, that ain't no fun to me. I was lucky enough to be able to get to the bolts right from the outside, and the entire time I'll have this car, we'll be able to do whatever we want with it, and even if we have to take it back apart and change something. Now, Looks to me like I still have to get a few more bolts for the bumper, because that's my biggest trick, is not having the bolts I need. I got used bolts and everything I can use to mock up, but trying to get the right bolts. That way when we go into final paint, we're not fighting it. One thing I don't get rid of around here is bolts and nuts. They throw them in a tote, and like right now, we would be held up if I didn't keep old nuts and bolts. Some of you are like, why not just use the old ones? You definitely can. I just a little too picky and would rather just throw new ones in and not be fighting stuff like that. And yes, you can clean them out. We're just not gonna. Okay. See, that's one thing about putting this together and back and forth, is you find things that just don't line up the way you want it to. That's what we don't want to do when it's painted, because then you get to get a hammer and change its mind. See how simple that is when it isn't painted? Not so much once it's painted. Okay. Now, all these bumpers were together. Just pulled them apart because I wanted to go through them and put new hardware on. Did some of the repairs. We'll go back and do some more repairs as we get further along here. But trying to get all our seams to line up the way we want them to line up. Trust me, whole lot of time making these seams line up as well as you guys are watching this go together. First time, definitely did not go even this smooth. That's one thing, is you'll watch me take this apart and put it together over and over again. You'll see that things will start just going together like a puzzle. Okay. That bolt is bothering me. I don't want it to be like that. So we are going to correct that. Run some of the dirt out of the threads. Try this again. And remember, these bolts here will be bumper bolts, so that style of bolt will not work in that spot. Okay, guys, this is what I'm talking about. You just don't know what you're getting yourself into. You just got to figure it out. We bought this, and we have to get these in there however the heck they go. Okay. Goes down. Goes down. No. Okay. I was hoping just to slide those in. That is not going to work. So, now how did I have that? Yeah. It's going to go like this. And that is not right. So, another one of those times that we're going to have to do some persuading because this does not fit together. Guys, if you're wondering what the heck is going on, it's these cars were used for many years. And every one of these I've had to mess with when it comes to these outer pieces. People ran them into things. Like I said, don't take shortcuts. I know it gets old putting it together, taking it apart, but the more you do it, the better it'll fit. Much better. Okay, another bracket that just don't line up right, and if you look at it, it's got a little too much bend to it. We will start with that. I think I'm bound determined to pull this all back apart because I dropped that bolt inside the frame. Okay. Now another bumper bolt we need that we don't have, but we're going to stick a bolt in there just to see if it's going to, well, maybe we are. My guess is I'll pull this back bumper back off and put it all back on at least one more time before it goes to paint, because not happy with the way some of this is lining up, and some of these original bolts here that need to be tapped and dyed and cleaned up. We definitely don't want to be fighting that with fresh paint, but we're going to get them on here just so we can have everything together. But definitely feel that this back bumper needs to be taken back off and put back on again and go through some of this stuff, make it better yet. We're starting out with the bumper up high, and we can adjust it to the body as it needs. But there we go. Back bumper's got a good starting place. Okay, guys, there you go. That was this week, and I know this is kind of a tedious ordeal, but that's what it's all about. If you guys don't enjoy wrenching and coming up with solutions to problems, it's not for you. But you guys that, really like to do this stuff, jump in there and just do it. We got the rear end back under there, the fuel cells in there, the back bumper's on there. Got to tweak on the back bumper a little more. But this week we're going to go after getting the motor and transmission set. Get the brakes done on the rear end. That way we can get the back wheels back on there. But thank you for following along. Please like, comment, and subscribe.